Well, hey everyone, my name is Nathan Jones, and if you're new here, welcome. I talk about all things movies, specifically Blu-rays, but today we're talking about books, and we're actually talking about film books. In fact, I realized the other day when I picked up Fright Favorites, the TCM book, thank you Raquel from Out of the Past, and also Vanessa, I picked this up and I was really loving the images and everything about it, and all my friends had recently just been talking about it, so I had to get it. I do have quite a few books that are related to film, or at least the book came out first to, something like The Hobbit or Good Omens, Call Me by Your Name, Princess Bride. These are things that I've owned, and I watched the movie first and then I read the book, and I appreciated it even more, both separate. But what I want to do today is actually talk about film books. So I'm talking about books that are related to film and talks about a lot of different aspects of it. So directors, writers, collections of books, and just these things that I actually own. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just go through my collection right now and actually ask for recommendations. What are some of your favorite film books, right? I books on film, books on directors, actors, actresses, cinematographers. I want to know, and tell me down in the comment section down below, because I'm excited to dive into more, because I've been reading like a madman lately, and this is one of those books that I've been reading. So this is the first book in my collection right here, Fright Favorites. This is really fantastic. David J. Skal wrote the book, and it came out just not that long ago, and I actually kind of recently talked about that. That is kind of the picturesque cover of here, and it just talks about all these different things when it comes to kind of the history of horror. All right, there's Phantom of the Opera, the Lon Chaney version. It goes all the way up to even like stuff like The Shining, right, and also Get Out and Hereditary are actually near the end of the book. But it's an exciting book, and I'm excited to dive deeper into this. And this is probably going to be a quick read because a lot of pictures, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's my first book, and now let's actually talk about a few books that I actually have read that I really enjoyed. All right, so the first book is actually from a film critic, and I was gifted this from my friend Nolan, who actually has been on my channel before, or at least he mentioned it to me. I don't know if he gifted it to me, but I ordered it, and I ordered Jonathan Rosenbaum's, who is the film critic, Goodbye Cinema, Hello Cinephilia. And so this book is a little bit older, not that long ago. I think the last time it was updated was maybe around 2012. Do not quote me on that one right there. Let me look right here. 2010 is the last time. I was close. But yeah, it's film culture and transition. So this is actually talking about the advent of the transition between us going to the theaters, the cinemas, and kind of building our own home cinemas with all the physical releases that we have. And so a lot of these, it does talk about these different essays in here that involve a lot of different kind of thoughts that Jonathan Rosenbaum has on different movements, and it's really wonderful. It's definitely written like an academic, and I've read a lot of academic papers in my days at the university, but there are some things that are definitely translatable to like maybe an audience that is not used to academic writings, but it's really great, and I highly recommend it. Jonathan Rosenbaum, really good film critic, and so yeah, I really enjoyed Goodbye Cinema, Hello Cinephilia, which is all of us. We're all cinephiles now. we just cannot stop watching film. And next is actually, I believe this is the book that Paul Schrader wrote as he was graduating, right? And we're talking about Transcendental Style, which are the films of Ozu, Bresson, and Dreyer, right? So three filmmakers that really inspired Paul Schrader and talked about transcendentalism and these kind of slower paced films that really kind of buck the curve of what a normal story should look like. But this is a really fantastic book, and it's it kind of just deep dives into the films of each of these directors. I personally love Dreyer and Ozu more. I actually am still not as familiar with Bresson, but I'm really excited to dive further into each of these filmmakers, and I really like Paul Schrader, even though he's a little bit crazy, but that's perfectly fine, because some of my favorite films he has directed, or at least has written, right? So like something like Taxi Driver he wrote, but I also really love films like recently First Reformed is one of my favorite films. It was my favorite film of that year because I love Ethan Hawke, but also Paul Schrader was really great. So if you haven't checked out Transcendental Style, right, in film, you should definitely do so. This came out it came out in the 70s, I want to say. So let me look real quick. The original pressing of this book, so this is the 2018 version, but I want to say, wow, why can't I just get this all done prior to me even, filming this right here? When did this originally come out? I want to know. 1971 is when he wrote the book, right? That's what he says. I wrote the book at the age of 24. So that's really crazy. So let's actually move on from here to some other books. All right, so I think a lot of you actually kind of know what this book series is, or at least this comes out every year as an annual thing. But I was gifted this a long time ago, back in 2012 actually, maybe 2013. This is 1,001 movies to watch before you die. And this is a big tome, right? There's a Godfather on the spine, Life of Pi is on the front. Yeah, this goes all the way to 2012, so it's not as recent, but and this gets updated. There's films that like kind of go out and constantly kind of rotate. But it's definitely a tome to get every year if you really want to, but it's also something to look up. But these are a lot of films to watch, and in fact, if I recall this version, I started checking off films that I had seen at that point. I don't know if you can see my black X's on the check mark lists, but you know, something like His Girl Friday, Hiroshima Mon Amour, Gone with the Wind. You have something like Frankenstein, From Here to Eternity. You know, things like that. There's all different types of films in here, and it really kind of just, there's Nanook of the North, which I still have not seen. I have it, but I haven't seen it. Something like Greed, which is really difficult to find and hard to watch. Then you have stuff like Only Angels Have Wings and Destry Rides Again, which I have seen Destry Rides Again since I've had this book, and I love that film. But anyway, this thing is really fantastic. It's a nice tome. There's different editions of this, but yeah, this is the only other book that I've kind of read bits and pieces of. So let's actually talk about some books that I haven't read, but I'm really looking forward to. All right, the first book that I actually was like, I picked up at like a flea market actually was Sidney Lumet's Making Movies right here. I love Sidney Lumet, and I love 12 Angry Men, and I love everything that I've watched from him so far. And so I'm really excited to dive deeper into Sidney Lumet's mind and kind of that television to film transition. And that's something that I'm excited for. So this is a book that I picked up, and it was only, I think it was $1 or something like that. And so it was definitely a good deal. Let's see, when did this come out? 1995. So first edition, right around that. So that's really cool. And then let's actually talk about another book that I have not read. All right, we're nearing the end, but the next book I actually got was Koslowski on Koslowski right here. I really love the works of Koslowski. I've really enjoyed Decalogue, the Three Colors trilogy. I haven't seen The Double Life of Veronique, but I've enjoyed everything that I've watched with him. It's definitely a very meditative director, a very fantastic Polish director that is definitely someone that needs to be talked about a lot more because his work is just groundbreaking. But this book is, let's see, when did it come out? This came out in 1993, and so this is kind of a little bit older, but I haven't really dived deep into this. In fact, I need to be in a Koslowski mood to read this, honestly. I almost said watch because we're so used to saying watch. But yeah, I cannot wait to read this a little bit further. And let me talk about this last book, and then I'm going to ask all of you, what are some of your recommendations for me? So this last thing I got was, I was gifted this a few years ago from an old roommate. I actually got the Stanley Kubrick Archives right here in this book right here. It's a nice tome right here, and it probably just deep dives into everything that Stanley Kubrick's done. I actually have not really opened it up, but there's something like, there's Spartacus right there. Let me just get to one of my favorite books. See, I'm transitioning here. Let me get to, let's see, this will be for Elliot Cohen, because this is definitely one that I'm excited to talk about as well. If I can get to it. Where are you at? Where are you at, you beautiful, beautiful film? Well, we'll just have that picture right there. There's Barry Lyndon right there. You have Kubrick on the side right there. This is like he's got a ladder right there. Well, yeah. Anyway, I can't wait to dive deeper into this, especially when I'm interested more in Kubrick's work. And so, yeah, what about you? What books do you have on film? Is there any cinematographer, actress that you love, director? I want to know about your collection, and I'm excited to explore more and read more. This is just a new journey that I have myself, and so I'm excited. Thank you so much for watching this little video. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like, comment down below, share this video, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.